Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a really focused look at the theology of success, specifically eternal success. We've gone through a stack of sources that zero in on the deeds, the actions, the character traits believers need. Our mission really is to synthesize these steps pretty quickly.
Yeah, and what's really striking is how clearly the sources actually lay this out. They often point to one key chapter, Surah Al-Muʻminūn, chapter 23. It's seen as a kind of central summary, and it kicks off with this powerful statement, successful indeed are the believers. Pretty definitive.
Okay, successful indeed. So before we get into the specific deeds, let's talk foundations. The sources are clear, right? Belief comes first. We're talking belief in one God, day of judgment, the holy books, prophets, angels, the core tenets.
Exactly. That's the non-negotiable starting point. But, and this is crucial, that belief is immediately tied to action. Like they're inseparable. The sources always highlight these dual physical actions. Consistent prayer, salah, and comprehensive spending. That covers the zakat, the poor do, but also generally looking after the needy families, belief and action woven tight from the get-go.
It's interesting how much emphasis these get. You mentioned the sources highlight prayer twice in key lists. And giving the poor their due, that comes up again and again. It feels like more than just a list item.
Absolutely. The repetition signals these are, foundational pillars, prime deeds, you could say, non-negotiable constants. But then the verses in Al-Mominoon pivot a bit. Once those pillars are in place, success demands some intense personal discipline.
Ah, okay. So moving beyond the ritual acts.
Right. This is where the sources outline specific character traits, the internal stuff.
And if we look at Al-Mu'minoon's list here, it seems like a triad of disciplined actions. First, integrity, safeguarding pledges, promises, covenants, acting like shepherds of their pledge and their covenant. That's a strong image. And second, personal decorum, guarding modesty.
And then the third one, which, well, it feels maybe less weighty at first glance than keeping a huge promise, but perhaps it's incredibly challenging today. It's about information discipline, staying away from vain conversation law.
That grouping is really interesting. Putting, safeguarding a major serious promise right next to avoiding useless chat. How do the sources connect those? Why are they both prerequisites for success, seemingly on the same level?
Well, if you synthesize it, the connection seems to be about establishing profound trustworthiness and, importantly, focus. Keeping a big promise, that shows your external integrity, right? But avoiding vain conversation, that points to your internal discipline, your focus. You probably can't be a reliable shepherd of your pledge if your mind and time are constantly scattered by, well, frivolous noise and distraction. So this triad, integrity, modesty, focus, it kind of sets the internal house in order. That seems to be the prerequisite.
Okay, that helps clarify the structure. So internal house in order, first modesty, integrity, focus. Then the sources seem to move outward to broader responsibilities. You mentioned another list, the triumphant actions from Surah At-Tuba.
That's right, yeah. At-Tuba, chapter 9, it broadens the picture. It describes the characteristics of those who achieve triumph. It lists core acts of devotion first, turning repentant, worshiping, praising God, fasting, bowing down, prostrating, the familiar acts. But then, crucially, it culminates in a social duty. This is what kind of completes the picture of the successful believer.
And that duty is?
They are described as those who enjoin the right and who forbid the wrong, and those who keep the limits ordained of Allah. This is, you could say, the application of all that foundational faith and personal discipline out in the world. It requires that internal strength. You can't effectively forbid wrong if you're caught up in vain talk yourself, or if you don't keep your own promises. It all connects.
So it's a progression. Faith, core duties, personal discipline, and then active, responsible engagement with the community. And the outcome, the ultimate result mentioned back in Al-Mu'minūn, is pretty clear.
Absolutely definitive. These individuals will inherit paradise. There they will abide. Eternal success.
So summing it up, the path is this blend: internal faith, consistent external duties like prayer and spending, rigorous personal conduct, guarding promises, modesty, focus, and then that active social responsibility.
Exactly. It's not just about ticking boxes. It's presented as a kind of total transformation into becoming a disciplined, trustworthy, and positively engaged person.
That combination is Powerful. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just circle back to one point that really jumps out, especially today, that step of shunning vain conversation love. In our world, which is just saturated with noise, constant notifications, endless streams of information, distraction, it's worth considering what actually counts as vain conversation in your life. What kind of useless chatter or digital noise might you need to shun to cultivate that focus? The focus needed, perhaps, to become a true shepherd of your ledge. Something to think about.